My name is Hines. I've been a psychic medium for about, it's hard to believe, 15 to 20 years. And how many of you have heard about mediums who have had the gift since childhood or when they were born? Okay, well, that's not me. My gift actually started out, people are like, oh, really? I thought all mediums started that way. No, mine started when I was writing this book, about halfway through, Caves of the Watchers. And I think a big part of that, bless you, is because of past life connections. When I first started doing medium readings as a medium, I started picking up, I would literally have a client sit in front of me. I could read auras and I could see the spirits or spirit guides associated with them. A lot of times I can see historic figures associated with people too. So that's kind of where I started building my my client base and doing readings, was with past lives. And then it kind of worked its way up and up and up through the years. The past couple of years, year and a half, I started doing, I started working with a group called Find Me Group out of Phoenix. And it was started by a former CIA agent. And he started, I think he's had it for at least 10 years. So I work on missing persons cases, not directly with the police, but there's like a group of 100 mediums. And we get tested. We get 3 cases. And we get tested by another young lady who's been with the group for a while. And they'll send us photos of people who were missing persons. I think the cases have all been solved. And they'll ask you, is this person deceased? Are they alive? What were the details behind the case? How were they murdered? Or, what are the circumstances? And I was really nervous doing it because as a medium, you think, it's not fact-based like a lot of scientific-minded people think, or a lot of us, everybody knows it's not fact-based. And that can be challenging because for most mediums, we have to trust what we're seeing, what we're feeling, sensing, and maybe what we're hearing. And that's not always easy. I have a good friend that's a native shaman, and she's like, Lori, I don't even trust myself half the time until somebody validates that. So when I started working on missing persons cases a couple of years ago, and we don't get proof if we're right or not, but when I joined the group, she talked to me on the phone, and she's like, Lori, your facts were dead on. A lot of them were pretty accurate. She's like, you picked up on a lot of things. And I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah. She's like, you're definitely the real deal. You need to have more confidence in yourself. But as I mentioned, at being a medium, it's very challenging because it's not like you have a book in front of you saying, yes, you're right or wrong. I mean, if a police officer says, oh, yeah, we found the evidence you said that's in this location, but it's for a challenge, we all work together. And they'll come to us and say, Kelly will send us a case and say, okay, is this person deceased or are they alive? Or he'll say, okay, we've got a body here. Can you tell us what happened? So we might pick up and say, okay, was it suicide? Were they murdered? Sometimes I'll just pick up, I think one was a kidnapping. I picked up on a young male that was kidnapped, I think. And unfortunately, we never find out if we're right. Sometimes we might, but it's very rare that we do. So that's the challenging thing about missing persons cases. But it's nice when you have somebody tell you, yeah, you're right with a lot of your facts, and we want you to join our group to see if we can help find missing people. So there's 100 of us that work together. And it's a lot safer because what do you think happens to mediums who work directly with the police? And the suspects are able to find them. Yeah, there is the one I keep forgetting her name, the one who had the TV show about her, there's been other mediums that Stacy was telling me, the suspects have knocked on their door and tried to kill them. They literally pulled out a gun and their lives were threatened. So I don't know if she said any had actually been killed, but she said there are a couple with this group whose lives have been really threatened. So it's better to work as a group. I'm not sure I'd want to take that extra step up to work with police directly. It's just, but it's good to be able to help. But one thing I wanted to start asking is how many of you, I always start this with my workshops, how many of you believe in the other side? How many have had experiences seeing things, hearing things where there's a shadow, lights? How many of you are really open to that? Okay, so Tom, I know you've had all of you have had experiences? Really? Okay, that's good to know because that really helps the direction of my workshop. So what kind of experiences would you say? I mean, I can usually validate what kind they were. Were these good or bad? I'm hearing good for all of you, I think. Did you guys feel anything negative or?
I felt a while back we were at the YMCA at the other end of town. And there was a gentleman in there that was a prospective buyer. And he went through the building and looking at it, and he came back and talked to us. He goes, I'm going to rip this out, rip that out, get rid of this, do this, move this wall.
That's not good. Okay.
And the building went nuts.
Yeah, I was going to say.
feel it. And so the next day I went in there to do some things for the owner, and it was just, I felt like I was getting literally pushed, just get out, get out, get out. And I'm trying to say, look, I'm on your side, I'm here to hurt you. But I literally had to get out of there. I did what I had to do, even though I wanted to pull. Sat in the car for about 10 minutes going, did that just really happen? It was intense. I never felt anything like that before.
And so I think everybody to a certain extent does have psychic medium abilities, should everybody know, because they only want money, they don't use them for good. And I actually give a lot of free readings. Not hour-long readings, but if I'm guided, like I'm seeing a very strong male presence behind you, and I'm also hearing you might have picked something up from the YWCA, right? Or YM, okay, because I've heard about that building. So, but it's nothing bad. And when I do readings for clients, I'll say, you know, when you travel, did you know you picked something up from here when you traveled? But it's good. And people have to understand, a lot of times things act as spirit guides. We all know that as a builder, you could have a brand new house that's 20 years old. You might be on land, say you custom built that house, you might be on land that's 150, 2,000 years, whatever. You could have had prehistoric people living there. And don't you think that that's gonna kind of carry over into the house itself? Some people think, oh no, it's a brand new house. It doesn't matter. That land, I've done readings for a lot of clients, and that land they're on actually can cause problems in their house. Or, believe it or not, you can actually have spirit guides. You can pick up a spirit guide or pick up a very positive presence that is gonna watch over you in that house. Some people think, oh, you have to get rid of it. Please, if it's one thing I'm begging you guys to understand, do not think that you have to cleanse a spirit if you have one in your house. Kind of get a sense for what it is, contact a medium, just try to kind of get an idea of what might be in there. I think everybody here, anybody can really use their intuition and pick up whether it would be good or bad. But for you, I'm hearing, guys, is it correct he picked something up from YMCA? Okay, so they're verifying yes. But I'm seeing, I saw a male first, now I'm seeing a female step forward. And I don't know, are you guys all friends?
Yes.
I'm his wife.
Okay. Because there was a female kind of in the middle of the two of you here. And there was a male that stood right behind you.
On this side?
Yeah, she's in the middle. She looks kind of young, but one thing I tell people is you could pass over at 95. You're going to get the choice when you pass over the age you want to pass. And usually people will say, like, say somebody, the happiest is 45 because they got a fantastic job, they've been exploring, they're having the time of their life at that age, they met the person they love at that age, so they might choose the age 45 if that's the case. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, shouldn't that person look 95? No. That's one thing my spirit guides keep telling me over and over. And then people are like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense, because a lot of times you might see them as being young. You're like, well, it kind of looks like my mom, but not. But like, yeah, it might actually be your mom, but just at age 25. And unless you've seen photos of her, you might not recognize that. Yeah. And that's I've heard a lot of mediums say that as well, say the same thing. Have you guys, for those of you who have experienced anything, so you said you felt stuff. So I kind of feel like you have some kind of highly intuitive medium abilities yourself. Okay, so someone is behind you with you now saying he is a medium.
Saying he is a medium?
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't always have to be the case. You could draw things to you. You can feel spirits. You can feel ghosts, even if you're not. So I can't hand everybody in here a workbook and say this is how it works, because trust me, Tom knows it doesn't work that way. I know too. I get talked to all the time. I was on a battlefield in Georgia recently, and I had somebody come up saying, help me, and I'm like, oh my God. So it can be very overwhelming. So I think people, spirits can kind of sense, I think they know you're kind of open. Do you feel like you're open to it? I feel like you are. If you're absorbing that, but just be careful with that. But I think they're telling you did pick up somebody from the YMCA with that. Was it the male or female? Okay, so I think it might have been the male that I saw.
It was kind of a dominant. I felt like it was, it wasn't a feminine. And then here I saw two.
Oh, yeah, he's got a lot of interesting stuff in here. That's how I met Tom. He asked me to do a tour for him the very first time. And he's like, I think he liked the stuff I was saying, because then he decided he wanted to actually keep working with me. So, and that was one of the best opportunities, and I'm not kidding, that I could have ever had, is working with him. So my friends are like, Lori, you're in your element by working with that museum. I said, yeah, and I hope it continues. For those of you like, so some of you, a lot of you, it seems like everybody on this side has had experiences. So if some of you, is it lights, is it shadows? Has it been like, do you guys kind of feel things with you? You have seen?
I've seen, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I lived in a house from 1920s, and I was upstairs, and I was just laying there, and there's a portal there in my whole house.
Oh, that's interesting. You use the word portal. I don't hear,
And
okay.
there's a portal, so
Yeah,
I looked, and there was, I'm getting chills right now.
okay.
So there was, I looked, and I thought I was seeing things, and I saw this old lady, tiny with a bun, and she had the dark dress with the
Oh, wow.
short sleeve, and she was a little bit older, and she was standing there by a dresser, and that whole area lit up. And then that same area, there was a lady in white came in to the room. So I asked my stepdaughter at the time, I said, "Did you go in there?" She goes, "No, it's not me," because she had dark hair. Then and then I remember that I had lost my sister because she had dark hair. And she didn't know I was in Pennsylvania, but she walked into the room, turned around and looked at me and smiled and went back out. And two other guys followed. One had a red shirt with gray hair,
Oh, my
and
God.
so on. So I saw everything clear. Then in that same place, so I saw probably 15 to 20 people in that same place.
Oh, my God.
So one time I was asleep, and I said I had a little fever, so I turned around this way and I looked into the closet, and a gal and her mom came out of the closet, walking towards me, and looked at me, and they were both wearing the same blanket, and they looked at me, and they smiled, and they turned around and went back where they were going. They were
And this was all in the same location?
the same place.
That's the most insane story I've ever heard. It tops it from what I can remember. The portal, I've never heard, that's interesting because portals, people don't believe that there are such a thing as portals. How many people are familiar with all the David Paulides and the missing persons cases in national parks and forests? Oh my God, I could stand here and talk about that for hours. That people don't realize it in houses, in historic places, on land.
In New York, walking in New York City in the street, I've had people just appear out of nowhere. Well, I was walking down Washington Square Park, which is all the park. And I was walking, all of a sudden I see this figure. And I looked over, and it was an American Indian. So he kept walking. So I followed him to see where he was going. All of a sudden he disappeared. And I looked over again, and there's this other figure. And there was another guy that was standing there with a Bible. But it was it was a person reading a Bible out loud. And he was going insane. But then his eyes were like rolling back on his head, but he was standing there reading a Bible. He was going insane, and I'm just thinking, whoa, I gotta get out of here.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's like, because sometimes they'll show themselves to people, because they're saying, like, I think it's a combination of things that show themselves to people that they're energetically drawn to, but I think you're able to pick up on things, so I think it's a really strong combination. That's what I just heard. Somebody's like, yeah, she's got her own stuff.
I pretty much died when I was 8. They brought me back due to a massive blood loss from
I've talked to other people that have said that they,
And from that time on, I have seen, it actually started off not too well. It's like being thrown in a pond to learn how to swim, except it was filled with sharks.
Oh, wow. I love sharks, but I
I started seeing demons and stuff at first.
Wow.
And creatures that no human should ever have to see.
Oh, my God.
As I got older, I learned how to deal with them and gained the strength and power to deal with them. But I see, my house is haunted, but I live in for one here in Bullion. There's
Not surprised. It's one of the most historic things.
my favorite one is Guadalupe. She was a former owner, and she does the house for me.
Oh, okay.
And,
That can help.
and plus, my house is decorated with 1920s and earlier furniture, so a lot of history came with it. So my house is rather busy, but they're all friendly, no issues.
And you guys know antiques can actually attract both good and bad. That's what I'll go into an antique store and my spirit guides will be like, there's some African masks that I really wanted. I started to grab them, they're like, don't touch those. And I'm like, but they're beautiful, I don't want them. They're like, yeah, they want you to put them back.
Thank goodness
So-
they're telling you.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people, like, my guides will tell me if something is haunted in a good way or a bad way, and even if it is in a good way, you don't know how that can switch. So you really have to, I can walk into an antique store and tell somebody, yeah, no, yeah, no.
Speaking of antiques, she bought me a saxophone. This was 1946. And I started playing the thing and just picked it up. All of a sudden, I felt like I was not playing the saxophone. It was just,
Channel somebody.
I channeled somebody else.
Yeah, you do.
I looked around and I went like,
You know, it's a very good thing. There's like an angelic light around it, actually, which is a really good
but it
sign.
was a good thing because I'd never played that before. Never played that metal.
But that could have been something, when I mentioned past lives too, that's something that you could have been bringing forward when you touched that instrument, or that spirit wanted you to. I've heard people that like never touched the flute and they pick it up and they're like a flute player.
I'm close.
I'm like so jealous of that. I'm like, I want to play the flute. It would take me 2 years to learn how to play the flute. Any Native American listening to me would be like,
Well, that's how I learned how to play the guitar as well.
oh my
I picked up the instrument and just played
I
me.
have so many people I hear that happens. That's
And all of
amazing.
a sudden, it just played me like, oh, wait a minute, where did that come from?
And you can have spirit guides. Yeah, and I think you have spirit guides that are bringing that forward. Your talents from
Well,
past
my
lives.
father was a guitarist and he passed away, so I think that's when I channeled him into that.
Well, it could have been a totally different guide. Because what I tell people when I say past lives, does everybody kind of understand when I say the term past lives what that means? Okay, I'm getting some nods. Some people say, oh, kind of. It's, to me, when I try and tell people, past lives are not your childhood. It's not 50 years ago. It's not 20 years ago. It could be hundreds of years ago. It could be thousands of years ago. I've done client readings where I've picked up, do you know you're a prehistoric Indian? Do you know you crossed over from the Bering Land Bridge? And I get shown this when I do reading, and that's pretty cool because I haven't done too many readings like that. But there's a couple people I picked that up on, and I'm like, yeah, you were a male hunter, and you did this, and you were an artist, and they're like, oh my gosh. And so it's pretty cool to be able to pick up. So I think that's part of what you're bringing forward as the musician and stuff. I think, because for me, they're saying, Lori, you were a writer in so many past lives. And for you, I think you were a musician in a lot of your past lives because like the flute and the saxophone.
Actually, I was looking at back in the time and I was in the castle and I was playing in the old castle way back in the 15th century. So
Wow.
I had my own band room in the dungeon.
I'm hearing Ireland, maybe? What, Ireland or Scotland? Something about Ireland, at the castle, Ireland, a castle. I don't know if it's the one.
I lived in the Caribbean.
Well, no, this could be. No, yeah, it's not this life. This could be 200 years ago. Like reincarnation, in other words, yeah. So, but that's interesting. I like to hear experiences like this because that kind of determines the direction of the topic. So when I say spirit versus spirit guide versus ghost, does everybody kind of understand the difference to that? Because they can all blur for some people. So ghost is, when we think of ghost, we think of earthbound. So that could be something that's, like we mentioned, antiques could be attached to an antique that you'll feel the energy of. Like a lot of what you were sensing probably is earthbound. Then we have spirits who are transcended. They've decided they're ready to move on. And then we have spirit guides, which is, we all have spirit guides and angels with us. Some might resonate with angel energy, some, with me it's Native Americans because I've had so many past lives as a Native American. Romans, I have Roman guides, Egyptian. A lot of us have so many different types of guides, everybody in here, especially since you guys have such a fascination with history. It would be interesting to do readings for all of you and see what the heck I pick up on, because it's going to be pretty fascinating. I heard Victorian era for, I don't know if it was one or both of you guys, Victorian era very strongly, as far as spirit guides. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, but with ghosts, yeah, they're earthbound usually. Spirits have transcended. Spirit guides have transcended even more. So they're those that can watch over us. Like as whether, well, angels are kind of a totally different thing. But they're still active spirit guides. They're still very protective. How many realize that angels can show themselves as human beings? And probably have for a lot of you, and you haven't known it. How many knew that? Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely, mine have. I've done readings for clients, and they've stood behind me and said, yeah, we've shown ourselves to her. And they've told me, some of my angels have said, Lori, we take on certain personas as human. We don't always show ourselves as human. Most of the time they don't. But I've had a number talk to me, and they're like, yeah, my name is such and such, and this is how you'll see me. I think one I saw is a cute, petite blonde. And I think she was the one that was talking to me a couple of years ago about this. So spirit guides will step up and show themselves in human form, just like I'm looking at you guys. That happened to me at a ranch about maybe 10 years ago now. Two of my Native American guides, I thought they were married, and they were like, no, we're brother and sister, gross. And they actually showed themselves at the ranch. Why? Because there was so much amazing geography around there with like the granite boulders. Have any of you been to Southeast Arizona near Dragoon, like Tombstone? Oh my God, that's an amazing area. And the energy, that's what it's all about, is energy too. Like if they had that kind of strong energy to show themselves, and that's why in my first book I wrote about that area, because they have the energy to appear. How many of you think, and I can validate by the energy that, by guides and the energy I see around you, how many think you have actually either met an angel or a spirit guide? And I'm hearing a lot of you have. Okay, yeah, they're showing me you. Okay. Somebody said pretty much everyone. One thing I wanted to let you know, and I didn't get to tell her, but I did want to let all you beautiful historians know, I actually heard a Hohokam voice, which she had a paranormal investigation going 6 months ago. Rita, it was in that native room, and she was too busy talking to everybody and doing her thing, but there was actually a Hohokam voice. My spirit guides, I heard it and chills went down my spine. Now, does anybody in here know what the heck a Hohokam, and they don't call themselves that either, but they kept telling me, Lori, there was a voice. They're like, you have Hohokam spirit guides as well. But they're like, there was a spirit or a ghost in that native room that actually was talking to you and talking Hohokam. And Tom about flipped out when I told him. He's like, did you film it? Not did I film it, but he asked if I taped it, and I just, no, I was too excited listening to what was going on behind me and what she was saying. So it's pretty fit. You have to really be open to it. It sounds like you are. You guys definitely are. But people think, I'm not a psychic medium. I can't pick up on this stuff. A lot of us do have that ability. I guarantee you, everybody in this room has some amazing intuition. And that's why these workshops always seem to really help people, because they say, okay, I really open up now, and I feel like I'm sensing energy, and I can talk to my mom, my dad who's passed over, because everybody keeps telling me, I can't, of course you're going to grieve. You can't hug somebody. You can't put your arms around somebody and love somebody that's not physically there. But you know what? You can talk to that person. People say, Lori, but they're not here. Yes, they are. Don't think for 1 second that you can't open your mouth and say, say your brother's name or mom or dad, I'm having a rough day, are you doing okay over there? Because a lot of people, the main thing people talk to me about is the guilt about how their mother or father passed over, or brother or daughter or loved one. My friend Kim lost her son at 27. And I picked up on him pretty quick when I called her and found out what was going on. And so he comes and goes. He's actually a spirit guide for me. He's one of them. But he watches over a lot of different people. And so you have some guides that will watch over you permanently. Some will come and go. Like I say, if you have a Roman soldier and you're there to do a battle or something like that, maybe in court, I know it sounds kind of strange, but some guides will literally step forward to help you with certain parts of your life. And I have so many Native American guides, and I see them on a regular basis. And do you guys know what a powwow is? Okay. Well, a lot of mine will show themselves in powwow or regalia. And I would shoot myself if they ever left. I'd be like, they're some of the most interesting guides. And I have some Native historians that are with me, and Apache guides from like 200 years ago. I've seen them come down the stairs. So I try and tell people is really open yourself up, because you guys all have that intuition. And you guys have seen things and sensed things, especially you're really seeing stuff. So just opening up to it, but not just the bad, the good. And like you're saying, you've had some challenges with some negative stuff. Well, ask your angels or your spirit guides to step forward and kind of help get rid of that.
It's not so much a big thing. It has turned into, and I got into some high-level stuff with some various priests and stuff and some religions, and used it and took advantage of it to do some spiritual warfare for good. And so I did that for a number of years as well. And it's not really an issue for me anymore, that it's like, oh, you're a pest, don't worry.
They're saying it is an issue.
So for me, it does not an issue. And I do have some spirit guides. Well, I have one that's an Egyptian priestess, and that goes back to my past one. I believe I was one approximately 3,500 BC.
And that's great that you're in touch with that, because they're validating that. So how did you find that out?
Just doing some regression work and stuff.
Oh, good. Okay, that's awesome.
But I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
I've been observing you here, and I know part of it is your own aura that's radiating out, but there's an entity that's been here behind you, and they like to show themselves. They'll go up and go bigger, and then they step back behind you,
Oh, really?
and they grow to about twice your size.
Oh,
I'm just
really?
wondering if you happen to know who it is that is standing right behind you. It's a positive.
Okay. No, thank you. I love when people validate that. That's awesome, Tom. Okay, so I've been told I have a number of otherworldly beings, and I'm careful what audience I say this to, because some people are like, I think they might walk out if I say something, and my guides are always like, just tell your truth, Lori. That's what you're good at. That's what people respect. So when I say otherworldly guides, believe me when I say there is such a thing, because I've seen them standing by my bed. I've seen them in dreams. A number of times they show themselves. And there is one that he's surrounded by light, and he is very tall. So I am wondering if that's the one, because do you see him kind of like white robes or just light?
Yeah,
Like a light, yeah.
White, and he likes to, he's kind of playing like hide and seek. He'll come back close, and then he'll step back and grow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh my gosh. Because I knew he was tall. I didn't know he did the shape shifting. Okay, he's having fun with you then. Okay. No, I think he's going you too. So I think he wanted me to know that. So no, thanks for that. That's always cool when we get validation back as well. But I'm kind of all over the place at times, because I try and tell, like with ghosts and spirits, all that. Most people don't. I assume people know that, but then when I ask audiences, they're like, no, and then they start to kind of get a better understanding. Because you can have an earthbound ghost that's attached to an antique. You can have a spirit that's attached to an antique too, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. There is no rules as far as the paranormal. Do you guys watch all those paranormal shows where they instigate? Oh my God. Yeah, this lady here does not do that. If you ever do that, I'm coming after you. She is one of the most professional. They don't do that, thank God, because I see that on TV and I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then they get scratches and I'm like, dumb butt, what do you think's going to happen? You can't instigate. And sometimes I've seen native spirits getting instigated, and I've literally gotten off my couch and thrown things at the TV. I'm like, what do you think you're doing instigating Native American spirits? I freaking lost it. So, or do any of you consider, are you a paranormal investigator, or you were just working at the YMCA, right?
I'm just a friend of the owner.
Oh, okay, because I have friends that did investigate, and they kind of used me as kind of just validation as to things that were going on. But I have never been in the building. I did want to go to the jail. Tom and I were talking about going to the jail or doing one of yours. Huh? Oh, okay. Well, I might have to, at night though, right? Okay.
Yeah, I have keys.
Well, there you go. He just went up to you, Rita.
Just let me know and I'll be happy to take you to the Y.
Really?
I used to have keys.
Anytime.
Oh, that's good. I'll have to
It's sincerely, yeah.
yeah, no, well, I'm sincere too when I see, because I'd love to explore more globe, and I just haven't had the chance to do. I mean, I've picked up on a lot of things here, both with your investigation, Rita, and with Tom by himself when I first met him, and just walking around throughout. I've seen like a giant, I think, Tom, it was
It
upstairs.
was on the second floor, yeah, so
So
it was interesting to comment about the person behind me that's double your size.
Well, this was something totally different, though.
Wow.
It wasn't associated with me, but it was like, it's giant. It was like, and then how many people believe in Bigfoot and cryptozoology?
Oh, yeah. So in talking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the past few years on this, do you agree that people who experience what we're going to call paranormal also have a higher tendency to experience, say, a cryptoid or UFO type? At first I thought it was, I was like, this is all. There's no connection. There is no connection here.
It
But
doesn't-
in talking to so many people that come on our investigations, and it's amazing how they congregate together. I mean, I'll be in a room of 20 people and 15 of them have had multiple types
Yeah.
of experiences.
That's a great question she has, because it's probably one of the best questions I've gotten, because they're telling me that people that start out interested in the paranormal, I think, have a tendency to be more open to Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff like that. But no, it can definitely go a number of ways. I've met people who, I think there was a writers' conference I was at one time, and it was like, I thought these were all people that were interested in the paranormal and stuff, but I did a book reading and they literally just decided not to invite me back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was really surprised the way they reacted. I got treated like I was a leper. And I'm like, but that's what this conference is. It was really strange. It was the most bizarre experience. And I was like, but no, they're saying, yeah, you're right. So people who generally they start with an interest in the paranormal, it kind of does work up to the cryptid thing, the Bigfoot thing. But I think I've talked to people who love cryptids that don't necessarily believe in the paranormal. So it's kind of weird how that works.
I just asked because I always had experienced paranormal in my life, but then I think back to when I was like 10 or 11 in the Midwest and saw a UFO. Fast forward years out here up in Scottsdale on the Tonto, way out in the middle of nowhere. A plain as day, granted it was 10 o'clock at night, middle of nowhere, a UFO. And then less than a year ago, about 6 months ago, in the same area, saw in the middle of the night driving home, saw something coming off of Granite Mountain, a cryptid, across the road in front of me, scared the heck out of me. It's-
part, that's interesting too.
Yeah. And you just, so it seems like a lot of people that I talk to on these investigations and just in general, and
But they all
just
experience.
investing, a lot of them have had either UFO
Multiple.
experiences also, or like you were saying, the cryptoid or Bigfoot type experiences. So it's like, why?
And there's not, and like I read it, there's no common answer. I think they're bless you. I mean, they just keep saying that people that are open to the paranormal are generally open to the other stuff. There could be people that are open to the UFO and they're also open to the paranormal. So there's no definitive answer. It's just being open to anything. A lot of you guys already are. You're allowing that energy in, but you still have to be careful because some of it could be negative. But what I tell people is, okay, so you have a sighting of a UFO, whatever, is that the first encounter, third? I can never get that straight, but it's, so even if you see one or if you see a UFO, but what I tell people is I have them as spirit guides. I've seen them standing by my bed, glowing. I've seen them in my dreams multiple times. I feel them in my living room, but they're all, if something's good or bad. So you don't just see them on the physical level, you could see them on the spiritual level. And when I do readings for people, I say, do you realize you've got an alien associated with you? And people love that stuff. Trust me, when I say, you've got a beautiful gray standing behind you, oh my God, they go nuts. And they literally jump up and down and hug me and like, oh my gosh. So people, and it's just that idea that you want to be in tune with something that is beyond imagination, that most people can't even imagine. Yeah, we all have sightings, but to have that spiritual connection, and a lot of us do. There's one back there I don't know who it's with, but it's just like showing itself now. It's showing off because I was just talking about grays. So that's what it is. It's right behind you guys. But they're non-threatening. So just, how many of you feel like you have vivid dreams? Because I do. And when I have vivid dreams, that's telling me a story. I have spirit guides showing themselves. Keep that in mind. If you're having a dream and you see your beautiful mother or your father or them together or a sister or brother, do you always think that's your imagination? No. Take that very seriously because they could be trying to show themselves. Maybe they're getting ready to give you a message. Because everybody tells me, oh no, that's my imagination. I'm like, no, that's your loved one coming to you in your dream trying to give you a message. Or they're just letting you know they're okay.
They say hi, just checking in.
Of the
I've had it happen.
Okay, good.
Check in, say hi.
Yeah.
how you
Okay.
doing?
And you acknowledge, and that's a good thing, like what he's doing is acknowledging that. And a lot of people, I say, just, there's actually stones and crystals you can use and put by the side of your bed that will help invite them in. And for some people, they need that. You can just ask them to come in. Again, talk to them. They're going to hear you. They're going to come. You can't see them. They're going to listen. They can hear you.
See, now I've had no experience with any of this.
That's a good.
I feel like I've probably been living a very one-dimensional life, I go to my job,
Yeah.
I think about school.
Yeah.
I come home, I think about school. I go to bed, I still think about those kids.
Yeah.
And then I pass out all night, and I wake up and I think about those kids, and you know what I mean? And I think, I go to work at my antique store and I
Oh.
think about those kids. Like I work in an antique store. I go to the YMCA. I come into this building. I don't sense anything, and I don't know if I'm just in that.
You know what's interesting about that?
In that one-dimensional mode,
There's a lot of people that are into that mode. That's why people like you are drawn to here, because that opens you up. But what the interesting thing right now, when you were talking about the antique store and stuff, someone's smiling behind you going, yeah, and she has spirit guides now that are from that antique store.
Cool.
So they're watching over you.
Yeah. Because I go in there and he's like, well, here's my first question: were you moving cats for a while?
Was I what?
Moving cats in our store for a while?
No, I was not.
We were being
Franked.
pranked
Wow.
because we would come
What
in.
the,
And
We were sure it was him.
we were. We thought, oh,
No, they're
we
not
were.
no.
But it was so funny because the hats weren't just thrown; it was like it was placed.
I've heard stories like this before.
And so we put it back, and then a
Okay.
couple of weeks, and there'd be another one.
Like,
Same
Tom is coming by.
It's like he's got the key, and it's like, we think, you're trying to get us.
There's got a woman behind you claiming, she's going, yeah, that was me. I'm saying, is it a male or female? It's female, right? She's got a shit-eating grin back there, and she's going, yeah, it was her. She's having fun with you guys.
But there's something that I've taken to heart is that we had a lot of people come in our store and go, wow, it feels good in here.
Oh, yeah.
It's great energy, and
Oh.
I thank them every
Good.
day I come in.
Good.
I'm glad to be among you. Let's have a good day. And then when I leave, I say thank you, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I walk up.
I can't believe I just heard this. I was a woman. No, that's a fantastic thing to do. That really enhances the energy.
But I don't.
That's okay, sweetie. That's okay. You know what she
I walk in there
said?
and I'm like, oh.
When you said, you guys talked about coming in and thanking them, she said, bring cheesecake.
What flavor?
I had no idea where. I'm like, did I just really hear that? They're back to laugh, and she's like,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Put a plate down.
We'll have
I'm
enough.
coming to your store, Mom.
Please do.
you also have to realize that Phil has a store filled with radios.
Oh, I think I've been in there.
Oh,
You have?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is watch people and they will stop dead in their tracks. I mean, bang, and they're immediately drawn to something. It's like, oh, it reached out and touched you.
Yeah, I think because I didn't want to leave
Yeah,
that place. It was because when I walked in there, I didn't want to leave. I kept looking around like, there's something in here I feel like I need to have. And my guys were like, sure. So, but there's a woman with brown hair. But like, so let me ask you this. This is one-dimensional. That's not a bad thing. We all are in some way or another. Do you want to open up to it? I heard yes really quick.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm scared to open up to it.
But keep in mind this. People think because you open yourself up, it's going to curse you. It means you're inviting the devil in. Please, and it's
I'm about that.
okay.
I'm worried about like my family making fun of me.
Oh, why would he? He's having this
Well,
experience.
my family makes fun of me.
But hey, I'm used to it. I'm the comic relief, so I embrace it.
But
You know, I was raised in a kind of narrow Catholic family. But I ultimately, yes, I would like.
And you don't, I'm not sitting here telling people you have to do that. It just depends. Like, it's these people, I don't think any of these guys chose it. It just kind of comes to you. It could come to you if you welcome it in. You can ask for protection, but your store is protection. They're telling me that the entities in there are watching. If there's any bad things that come in, I am getting a visual of them pushing them right back out. So you guys are very well protected. So just, and don't worry about what people think. I mean, I'm up here doing this, and I always tell my guys, I'm like, is this the right audience? They're like, shut up and do your thing. You're here for a reason. These people are here for a reason. They know I doubt myself all the time. And even as a psychic medium doing this for 20 years, working on missing persons cases, we all doubt ourselves. Because it's not scientific. We don't have facts in front of us. We just go by what we're being shown, what we're sensing, what we're feeling. That's all we can do. And I think everybody in here has had some experiences, whether you realize it or not. Yeah.
Did they use a psychic medium for that killing up in is it Utah or Montana, Wyoming?
I heard, yes.
They did the co-eds.
Oh,
And that they finally found the guy in Pennsylvania,
That was in
yeah.
Oregon.
but he was
Yes, yes. yes.
Oregon. Anyway, he was a student or a professor or something at the University of Washington. And murdered these 3 or 4 people in their beds. And somehow they found him in Pennsylvania.
They're saying I think I heard a little bit about it. They're saying, yeah, they did.
Yeah, I've never seen
It might have been a male psychic. I'm kind of getting it, but they're saying, yeah. I don't remember hearing a lot about
I
it.
think
But
there's a lot with that type of thing that
Yeah.
goes on behind the scenes
Yeah.
that they don't talk about. Because it would be considered a lot of hokey pokey.
Yeah.
So you get the naysayers out there, so it's just easier not to talk about it
That's a good
and
point.
follow that lead than to put it out there.
And then make up some story about how they put things together.
Yeah.
give the police the credit. Which some of them do. I mean, it's a combination. Mediums work with the police. Some work directly with the police, which is a lot more dangerous. But some are out to get paid for it. I don't know. I don't know if all police departments pay for a psychic medium to do that. Some might. It probably depends on the budget. I would be really. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that. But my spirit guides are like, because I love Native American culture and history, so they're like, Lori, you're going to eventually be working with Native American on the reservation. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. They're like, yeah, you can. So we're all working up to something different. And so I heard yes for that one. I'm getting kind of a male. It might have been a male in the back. But yeah, that's a great point she's making is, I mean, some police departments don't even believe in psychic mediums. They're like, oh, what are you people here for? You're just, a lot of people think we're all bullshitters. And I'm here to tell you, most of us are not. Because the guy, Kelly Snyder, who started this missing persons group, told us at the last annual meeting, he's like, do you realize you're solving like over a third of cases, missing persons cases, and finding whether they're deceased bodies or finding people alive? And then he's like, you tell people that don't believe in you. So to have a ex-CIA agent on your side like that says a lot. So I think more and more people are believing in it. How many people believed in psychic mediums when you walked in the door today?
Yeah.
Someone whispered in my ear, and they were just having fun, because you're talking about like working with the police. And they brought up the movie Men That Stare at Goats
Oh,
with George Clooney and Jeff Bridges.
yeah.
The CIA program dealing with psychic mediums.
Somebody said I need to watch that. I think I have. I think I watched part of it, but okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's comedy on that,
Yeah.
but they cover both sides from this story. It's an interesting movie, but yeah, I think it was my, just like here it goes.
And yeah, like the government programs we've all heard about on TV with the remote viewing. That's something I'd like to. I think a lot of us have done remote viewing and might not have known it. I've sat with clients in front of me and I'm like, what does your backyard look like? And they start telling me about it and I'm like, well, not really describing it, but they'll just be talking about their backyard, the energy. And I started telling this girl, I'm like, well, I can kind of see your side yard. Do you have like a row of bricks on this side with like planters and you've got kind of like an open area and then these kind of flowers on this side. And she looked at me and she's like, what? She's like, Lori, that is my backyard. So that's essentially remote viewing. But as far as the government, we've heard stories about, they're talking about GPS coordinates on some of these shows and they give you those and then people are supposedly able to tune in to those coordinates. And I've seen a number of shows who people aren't even psychic mediums that are able to do that, just being given these coordinates. So it's pretty amazing what's out there. We just kind of really have to open ourselves up to it. Do we have to? No. If you're not ready, I tell people don't do it, because for some people it is religion. They're like, well, if I invite this in, I'm going to get cursed, I'm going to bring something bad home. It's like, no, you just, what I do if I'm on an investigation, when I was working with Tom at the Q Ranch the last time and last year, I just surrounded myself with light and love, and you ask for protection from your angels and your guides. But it's one thing my guides have told me over and over, if like, they're like, if we tell you to do something and you don't do it, and we tell you you're in danger and you push through, we're going to step back, and you're going to feel, you know, the gist of that if you don't listen to us. And that's what happens with investigators, Rita, you know this, that step into rooms and start taunting things. You can't go in and do that, you know. So I'm very careful anywhere. And Tom and I have had some really interesting experiences. This last time we were out there a couple months ago, or last month, right?
Yeah.
We were in the corner next to this huge, beautiful barn, and I saw something literally leap out of the arroyo as we were doing an interview there. We're just talking about history, and there was a bunch of pioneers and prehistoric people there, Mogollon people, and it just leapt out of the arroyo, and it had red eyes. And this thing was freaking huge. And I told my guys, I'm like, is that what I think? And they said, yes, please take a step back. And I told Tom, I said, there's a wall coming at me, and I have to step back. And I think he kind of stepped back with me. The videographer stood there, of course, because he's doing what this young man back here, he was doing his job. He was too focused on us. So what happened is he took it home. This thing, and it was a shapeshifter is what they told me when you told me what was happening. They said, Lori, this is a man, because I was getting a visual of a man with dark hair. But they said this thing was not just a big cat, this thing was a shapeshifter, and it could take many forms. And I have never seen anything so clearly. It was a huge mass jumping at us. And I thought it was going to it was coming right at Tom and I, so I thought it was, but then it kind of just disappeared when we stepped back. So even if, like, a lot of people don't necessarily see things, but you might sense things like that. Just listen to your senses, like what you experienced in the YMCA.
But it's just brought something back. I don't know, a couple months ago, I think, Ellen and Ruben had visited me in the store, and I had a really wild dream about a shapeshifter.
Oh, wow.
And it just, talking about it just brought that back. I was like, wait a minute, I did dream about it. It freaked me out.
That might have been something
Because
that was trying to get in your store,
Because
or...
everything was a little off, you know? It was like, it was like a community or a street, but everybody was a little different. And the one guy changed from a cat into because I surprised him, and he turned into a cat. And as he turned, he was a man. It's just like,
Oh, wow.
what in the heck?
Was that at the same time as that?
No, I don't know.
When was that? That was in September, a couple months ago.
This was, I told you guys this.
It was, end of summer, July on, end of summer.
This was first week of September.
Yeah. So we didn't, I didn't see anything. But I
Just
felt
listen
it.
to me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but I felt it, and she moved back, I moved back, but I had a K2 meter and a Mel, and the Mel went up over 15 megagauss
Yeah.
really quick. And as we stepped back, it lessened, but, you know, sadly, the videographer was set up with a tripod, and he couldn't move back, and he's looking through a lens, you know, at an area that had something. And so, you know, he was the recipient, he didn't move. And so, yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. That's the first time here that I've ever picked up anything like that. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, they usually don't have any negative stuff out there. I think every place does have negative stuff. It's like you have to, maybe we're instigating it just because we were out there, we were in its territory. They're telling me it kind of jumped through a portal, but I think its home is out there. I don't think Maddie has it anymore. They said it's just, I think it was wanting attention, so I kind of gave him advice to give to Maddie, and did things get better with him, or did he really say?
Yeah, I think it's lessened.
Okay.
Lessened.
I hope so.
Getting bored.
Yeah, I could tell him to go home. I mean, if I lived at a beautiful ranch like that, I wouldn't want, you know. But of course, like any shapeshifter, a lot of people think they're just not. What I saw coming at me, I saw the red eyes first, and then I saw a huge shape. So That was the clearest thing I've ever seen. And it's funny because I asked the settlers and then the prehistoric people that were out there, I said, have you guys encountered this? They're like, heck yes. And that's why our shaman is standing next to you, because they're like, he was part of the reason we got rid of it. They're like, we dealt with this on a regular basis.
Do you think it could have been maybe an elemental, something that came from the earth?
I heard yes, and that's a good, I never thought about that.
Yeah, that didn't come up.
That was, did you guys hear what she asked? Could have been an elemental? Yeah, that was a really good question. I can't remember if I asked them that. No.
No, you didn't. I don't
Okay.
remember it, yeah.
But
That-
I love your premise and how you phrase it, because and how we do it, I always just say controlling the situation.
Yeah.
So far, we're doing an investigation and it starts going sideways, where some people would be like, yes, we want to have these
Keep going.
horrific experiences. No, I shut it down. Because it's a control thing then, to let them know I'm controlling the situation. If you're going to be that way, we will not be communicating with each other.
Because you're inviting them in when you do that, when you're excited about community. Like, and Rita, you hear from a lot of paranormal groups or people that are experts, don't ever instigate by turning your voice recorder on or videotaping it and start putting cameras all over your house if you suspect something, because that's inviting it in usually, right?
And I have out here in Grove and in Scottsdale, I have plenty of activity at both locations. No, that's my sanctuary. Both of those places are my sanctuary. We can coexist, and that's fine, but I'm not going to take it to the next level there.
Yeah, and we were looking forward to having you out at the ranch. I was kind of bummed when you guys couldn't make it.
Yeah, sometimes very.
But yeah, so is this too much information? Did everything make sense? Okay. That's why I say keep it casual. I start out with that question and then it goes where it needs to go. It always does. And I had notes at home and I was going to bring my computer and my guides were laughing at me. They're like, Laura, you always go a different direction. The people that are going to ask questions that need help are going to be there. Leave your computer at home.
Yeah, and that's why we left it, as a really casual, non-formatted presentation, which is something that we normally don't do. So, there's no PowerPoint and there's no script. It was just a very casual, informational back and forth.
But I mean, this is really terrific. This is awesome. This is beyond awesome.
Yeah, I never know. I've never tried this before. Lori and I talked about it.
I think you've hit on something here that resonates really well.
No, that's.
I definitely appreciate you. So.
Well, do you guys have any questions? I was kind of.
Okay, I think we want to do the
So you do this more often.
So I'll start on that.
Okay.
So, like I said, there was an availability for me to look at some firearms that had been deaccessioned, and they're all basically, probably have a Western provenance. But out of a group, I picked 9. I think it was 9. Lori and I talked on the phone, and I had I crossed them off, and Lori goes, no, you need those too. And so we added those to the group, and they're on display in the ranch room now. We're trying to get some letters, historic letters, and some other information on these. But very, very interesting. One of the ones that's really interesting is this one. Okay, this no longer functions. You can't pull the trigger, you can't cock it, the cylinder doesn't turn. This one is a Colt single action Army. This dates back into the black powder era. This is a black powder frame. So instead of a release on the side of the frame, it has a screw that holds the center pin, what they call the base pin. So this one's interesting. It's US. So it's US marked. So this was probably an issued firearm at one point. It's inspected. So it has a DFC. So David F. Clark. He was a military or a marshal inspector, probably 45 Colt, so it would have fired one of these, and 45 long Colt. And this was interesting because at one point it was loaded. The cartridges are still in the chambers, and they've all been fired. So right away, your imagination can take over here. This is what we call dropped once. So whoever had this, it was fired empty. Who knows what happened to the man that it was drawn and never picked up again until someone found it and picked it up. This dates back into the 1880s, so you can imagine the cavalry was working in Arizona. Geronimo was still on the loose. So there's really a lot of history with this. We do have the serial number, and so we have a request into Colt Archives to find out, if we can, where this was shipped.
Where was it found?
We don't know the provenance exactly. We think that it was found in Arizona, probably in southern Arizona, and on a ranch that's still operating down there. But I don't have anything. She'll tell you that.
Because I'm hearing ranch, but there's actually a man I was seeing associated with it at first, and he's been standing by it this whole time I was here. Before I even started talking, he was standing where Tom is.
So, when you look at this, there's things that you see. Number one, the ejector, the stud that comes out here is broken off. The ejector rod and spring are still inside the gun. Something else that you see here is that there's no front sight, because the barrel's been shortened at some point or another. The grips are probably original, very, very weathered. Sadly, we do have, on these, we do have a head stamp on the back of the cartridge that gives us an idea of when the cartridges were made, general idea. So we sort of get a look here at what we have. And just for reference here, and this one has been, we'll do it again, this for everybody else is empty. Okay, this is a reproduction, but this is what this would have looked like when it was new. So you get an idea, the front sight's gone, the barrel's been cut off. Of course, the grips were weathered.
Does it look like it was sawed?
Yeah, so this was sawed off.
Does it look like it?
Why would they have done something like that?
Maybe the barrel was bent, damaged, I don't know,
Get it
destroyed.
out of the holster faster.
Well, yeah, but there's no front sight. So you can basically see here where they cut it. They cut it as far as they could without removing the ejector housing. And then the ejector stud, you can see this is missing. So this piece is gone. And you get an idea here. Also, on this piece, you can see that the door here that keeps all your ammunition from falling out when you're carrying it, that is gone. So you can see that this piece is gone off of this firearm.
So if someone, and I don't know anything about guns, but if someone were to have stolen it, would that have been how they would have altered a gun to make it not immediately look like something that would have been issued to a soldier?
Not necessarily. No, there would be no reason, unless the barrel had been damaged. So probably there was damage to the barrel. Maybe when it was dropped, maybe when it was picked up. So they wanted a serviceable firearm, so they cut the barrel off. But they wanted something here that they could still extract the cartridges, and of course, that was broken. So I have a cold letter on the way, so we'll see what happens with that. But very interesting because it is non-functional, but all the chambers are fired and the cartridge cases are still in the firearm. And the loading gate, of course, is broken off here. So interesting, probably carried by a cavalry, either an officer or some, military individual at one point. So it's probably issued to that person. And so with that, Lori, you're up.
Well, I'll see what I can. So I was kind of hearing husband. At first I was picking up on a male presence with this. He was standing here earlier. And then I heard husband and wife, and so she kind of appeared as well. And so he's telling me he kind of was teaching her how to shoot it. And he's saying she's actually the last one that shot the gun.
Interesting.
And people think, oh, female, they didn't shoot guns, they didn't. It's like, yeah, a lot of them did. So a lot of them, their husbands, because he's telling me that he taught her how to use it. But he's saying he did find it, so that doesn't mean that it didn't belong to a soldier. It's kind of hard to say the history there. I'm just picking up on the most recent, and he's saying husband and wife. He was kind of showing me images of him teaching her. And he's telling me that she was the last one to shoot this. And I'm asking him if it was for protection, so they're saying yes. And I don't know if that was was it from like an Indian attack or? So well, he knows I have native spirit guides, so he's like, yes. So that's what he was telling me early, is that my guides are back here going, they're kind of laughing. So it might have been like an attack, a raid. They're saying it was. So she was the last to fire it, and he's back here saying, well, she was actually protecting me, because I don't know if they were just, obviously, a lot of people are unprepared for that kind of attack. So I get the image that I don't think they were right there together when it happened. I think she kind of ran and got the gun, and she knew what the heck she was doing. She really tried. So that's kind of what I'm hearing happened. But he's telling me they actually found the gun. So they wouldn't necessarily know it was from a soldier, or who. It could have been a rancher or pioneer or another settler, that kind of thing. But he's telling me, he's like, we think it was a soldier that had it before us. So I don't know what the thing there, would they have tried to give it back? Or you can't exactly go to law enforcement to give a gun back. I mean, there's just no way to do that. So, but they don't look really, bless you. I'm trying to think, how old was she? How old was she when she passed? Okay, so I think I'm hearing, was it 42 for her? 43 maybe for her. And this, so I'm assuming you guys passed on the same day, correct? Okay. They're like, oh yeah. So, okay, he was older than her. How old were you? 56? Okay. So I think he was 56. He's saying she was 43. They died the same day from the attack. And that's what I was hearing when you were talking about the gun and everything.
Yeah, and oddly enough, that's what I'm picking up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That it was used, lastly, it was used for protection. And
we didn't have a chance. I'm just saying.
yeah, and sadly, the protection wasn't effective.
Yeah, when you're surrounded by like how many Indians versus just the two of you. Did you guys have any kids or? Okay, I just heard don't go there. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. So it just wasn't the two of them that were killed. Okay. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I'm not picking up on that somebody is curious about? And I'll see if I can get an answer. Like I said, they don't know. The ones that passed away, she aimed at, she was trying to defend her husband and her family. And I think he came up, so I don't think it was just this one gun. I think he had another gun that he came up with. And I think they were both shooting, but there's just no way. And my native guides are back here mourning as well, which is interesting. So I'm trying to think if there's any other messages. The first thing he told me is like, I got an image of her firing to protect, and then he kind of came up after her. But yeah, they don't know. They found the gun themselves is what he was saying. And like you were describing the difference between these two, he's like, no, we kind of found it like that. So I don't know if that would have been a soldier. I wonder if my guides can tell me how many people own this. Okay, so I'm hearing 3 might have actually had used the gun or had it at one time. And I think the people that got killed, I'm hearing something about they might have actually had the longest history with it, and they're saying yes to that. And I don't know what that is in comparison. Maybe, how long did you guys have it? Like 10 years? Okay, they're saying over 10 years, so I'm not sure how long the soldier had it, if that was a soldier. They're saying they think it was. But I'm hearing 3 people that used it.
Yeah, since it's inspected and marked U.S., and at one time or another it was issued, most probably issued or U.S. property.
And this was a rancher. They were settlers. I don't know if they're trying to show me. I'm kind of seeing log cabin, but a lot of pioneers had log cabins. So I don't know if they're showing me that or smart ass. He's like, we're trying to. Oh my God, it never ends. Okay, so I'm just seeing like a log cabin with a fireplace, but I think the most important thing is just, they're telling me they think it was a Civil War, like a soldier that might have had it. They're not sure. He found it. Did you guys find it on your property or? Okay, so I heard noted that about 20 miles. 20 miles northwest, you said, from your property? Oh, yes, okay, so that's specific, okay. So that's where they found the gun, is 20 miles northwest of where their cabin or their land was. How much land did you guys have? I think he forgot. He's like, geez, how much did we have, dear? Was it a couple hundred acres, or? And they're saying no. I have like 50 acres, or maybe about that. So, do you guys have any other messages about the gun, or? Okay, so I'm hearing no. So I think he, just because of your questions, he was just trying to let you guys know what the difference is. He's saying they found it this way.
Did he tell you his wife's name?
That's a good question, because I think I heard Hal. Okay, so his name was Hal, I think. Is that correct? Okay, so what was your wife's name? Okay. Am I hearing Julie or Judy? Was it Judy? Julie or Judy? Judy. They're saying Judy.
And so one of the things that Lori and I have worked on is we worked on another firearm, and that currently that video is being edited. So what we've done is we've used two elements here. We've used historic archaeology, which is basically the firearm itself or the artifact. And then we've also now incorporated psychic archaeology into the mix. So we're able to use the best parts of each to tell the story. So the video that we're working on it'll start with the historic part of it and then work into the psychic part of it. So we're presenting basically what was found as part of historic archaeology, which is a rusty remnant of a Winchester rifle, which we can basically date to about a 3-year period in the 1880s because of the model variation. And then after that, what we've done is we've incorporated current or reproduction firearms of the same type into that video, so you'll be able to see and hear what those sounded like when they were used from that period of time. And then we go into the psychic part of it, and Lori talks about the history of the firearm from a psychic standpoint.
Well, that was very interesting, because I was getting messages when I was home. I don't even necessarily have to touch something. I'll just start getting messages and visuals. And I started getting messages when I still lived in Phoenix at the time. And then when I actually came and did the psychic thing and filmed here at the museum, I started getting a whole different set of people that owned it, including a woman, a husband and wife. And she was the main owner. She was the one shooting it. He's like, yeah, my wife was a tomboy. She did better than I did. So, and that was something I wasn't picking up originally. And then I just started picking it up when I was in the museum. So it's pretty interesting. But the last owner of the one in the YouTube video was actually a Native American. Him and his brother were kind of at a war with other Native people. And that was pretty fascinating. And he's actually here watching. He's here in the museum as a spirit guide for you. I told you. Oh yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Because all the artifacts you have here, like we had talked about earlier, that's very possible. You carry, but he's a very positive presence, and he was the one that was giving me a lot of the reading and the information.
Everything holds energy.
Yeah.
And some things hold more energy than others and sustain the hold of that energy longer. And so museums can be really interesting. From more than one element, more than one viewpoint. But one of the things is that what they have here as collections all have a story. They all hold energy. Some artifacts hold more energy than others. They're more willing to tell their story than others. We have one that Lori hasn't really seen yet that we're going to look at further here. Civil War era. It's a cap and ball revolver. It's another dug-up. It's another relic. But all 5 chambers are loaded. The chamber under the hammer has been fired. And what had happened, the individual that was loading it looks like he was in a hurry. And of course, cap and ball, so he's loaded from the front, he's putting the powder in and he's using the rammer. The last round that he loaded, because he was in a hurry and the gun was probably dirty, was not seated far enough in the chamber to allow the cylinder to rotate. And so sadly, he got one round and that was it. The gun jammed, couldn't fire it, all done. So that's a very, very interesting piece that we're gonna look at further later. And
Yeah,
I need to
definitely.
talk to my
Yeah, he
volunteer.
was the guy who, that was like the 16-year-old who got that one, so.
So,
So I can keep going, but, well, Tom's, do you guys have any other questions? You might have some for Tom based on what I
Was that gun disabled?
Oh, yeah.
During the time? Or was it disabled from display?
Well, it's just disabled for display, but it wasn't, you
That
know.
was one,
Yeah.
unless, when it was issued, it was probably left there and disabled, so
Yeah.
nobody would use it.
Okay. Yeah, I think, it might have been when they found it.
I see, okay.
I think I'm good. Yeah, the firearms are really fascinating and there's more stories. I think as we move forward, there's more stories to what we've received. So stay tuned. I think if Lori's willing, we will probably, talk more about some of what we've received in the collection